Sometimes you play games at 40k and you're driving back home and you're sitting there thinking, man, like that game was the reason why I play 40k. And in today's video, we're gonna go over a battle report or a gameplay session I had the other week and had me thinking that same thought on my way home. I'm playing my Tyranids. I call this list the LICTOR Apocalypse. I have a group of 6 Von Ryan's Leapers, Neuro LICTOR, 3 LICTORs, as well as a Death Leaper as well. You can kind of see all of them over here, you know, but the whole purpose of the game was to really control the board with some of these models. You know, when you take a look at the battlefield that we have set up over here, you know, it's very straightforward deployment. You know, my deployment zone's back here, and then my opponent's deployment zone is where that dice is behind over there. We got objectives in the center, off to the side. And right now we're gonna look at my deployment. You also get to see my dice over here as well. If you guys want nice dice, you can buy dice from the link in the description below from Baron of Dice. They have fantastic quality dice. And the dice that you guys see in that corner over there is from Baron of Dice. And I'm very grateful for the Tyranid dice. Thank you, Baron, for your dice. And I have a good story about dice in this video. So when we're looking at the Raveners over here in that corner in the top right, you're gonna notice that I had them kind of bunched up. My opponent put his scouts off to the side. We're gonna take a look at this angle in this corner. Up in that top right corner where that objective is up here, my opponent put his scouts, so he'd be able to scout towards that objective. But because I put my Raveners in that spot, I kind of blocked them from taking their scout move. But the problem was that there was no point in me bunching them up as I did over here. I should have drawn a straight line going back. And you're gonna see why in a second when you see the opponent that I'm playing against. When we look at the rest of the deployment, I put a Screamer Killer, you know, we got some Hormigons, the Pyrovore on the objective. I'm sitting my 2 Tyrannifexes. You know, we're talking about new players. You know, I watch a lot of these channels like Tabletop Tactics, and they're constantly talking about like making sure that you're placing your models where they have a line of sight going across the board. And when I look down this spot, my opponent has Deathwing Knights because my opponent is playing the Dark Angels. And you just put a brick of 10. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take both my Tyrannifexes and I'm just going to drop them right there on that spot because I have line of sight straight down the center of the board over here. Anything that crosses in the center is going to cross. And even if I move these guys up, I have line of sight with the objective over here to the left. And then I also have line of sight over here off to the side as well, which seems really good for me. Then we also, yeah, and I even zoomed in on the Deathwing Knight so you guys understood that I was gonna shoot at those guys right there because I'm playing against Dark Angels, and this is my first time ever actually playing against Dark Angels, so that was kind of fun. But we have the Venom Thropes over here off to the side giving these guys stealth. Not that it really matters in this game because Dark Angels just want to punch. They don't really care so much about shooting. We also have the Screamer Killer over here as well. I also need to mention right now that we're using the Tyrannocyte to bring in the Winged Hive Tyrant and playing them or rapid ingressing them on turn 1 so that I can get more models in my opponent's deployment zone. And as you guys can see here, this was the beginning of the problem of this match because my opponent deployed his Deathwing Knights in my back corner. I mean, look at this, guys. Like, look exactly where they placed them. I could have just drawn a straight line with the Raveners going back. I just didn't even think about that happening. They are 3 inches away. And right now in this game, in my mind, I'm like, I need to keep these knights just in this corner. Like, they just, if these knights, in my mind, if these knights make their way down in this direction towards my center objective or my home objective, I lose the game. To me, there's just no avoiding that. I know I could bring the Screamer Killer here to fight, but to me, like, I just didn't want to lose my Screamer Killer so fast because I know these guys are gonna destroy that Screamer Killer. Like, I have no doubt in my mind. When I played my turn, my opponent's taking pictures of the fact that he's terrorizing me with his Deathwing Knights over there. And then you can also take a look at the lictors, the leapers inside here, as well as there's a lictor inside. And then inside this spot, inside this building over here, I have the 2 lictors as well as a death leaper and a neuro lictor inside that building. He pushed up these models over here. As you see, my opponent took his turn first. Very grateful that these models over here can't charge on turn 1, because that would have been, or can't charge when they deep strike within 3 inches. I'm very grateful for that. But as you can see, my opponent moved their models, and these Deathwing Knights are about to make a charge into this building over here. I will also say that during my opponent's turn, I decided to rapid ingress the Tyrannocyte alongside the Winged Hive Tyrant to this spot over here off to the side, so that I could then take the Tyrannocyte, push them into this corner where a squad of Marines exists, and I could use the Winged Hive Tyrant. That, in all fairness, I probably could have just pushed this further to make this charge a little bit easier. I did land the charge, but you know, it is what it is. But just to, you know, swoop across the board, this 12-inch move from this model over here comes in very clutch. I feel like this play for me was almost as devastating as him putting those knights over there in the corner. This right here is basically the end of my movement phase. As you can see, he landed the charge with the Deathwing Knights into the lictors, killing my Death Leaper, but I still also was left with the other models that I had. I also have to mention that I Shadow of the Warped on turn 1, and which basically for new players means they have to take a battle shock test. And I think my opponent was quite happy that I Shadow the Warp on turn 1, but I was even happier because I was looking to battle shock this unit of Deathwing Knights, and that's exactly what happened when I Shadow the Warped. These Deathwing Knights were battle shocked, which means that as I fought into them with my Death Leapers that turn, with my Lictors and all the other dudes inside that building over there, that they were -1 to hit the entire time. And I think the flails were hitting on 4s, and then they were hitting on 5s. So that really, I think that battle shock was just super clutch, dude. If you're to me, like, that was kind of my mindset. I'm like, if I need to battle on a shock, I need to battle shock first turn so that I can keep my models alive with that Neurolictor. In retrospect, I think that looking at my list over here, I probably would just swap out the Neurolictor, and I would take out the Screamer Killers probably and just add 2 Maliceptors. Because when you look at Maliceptors over here, guys, Maliceptors under their abilities say that whenever an enemy is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And it's below half strike, subtract 1 from the move roll. But most importantly, subtract 1 from that hit roll just is natural to the Maliceptor. I don't need to depend on battle shocking and then having the Neurolictor around on top of that. You know, I just have one model that does exactly what I want it to do. And I think having 2 Maliceptors inside this game would have changed everything for me. But I didn't know I was playing against this army, you know. But, you know, I get to this spot over here with the rest of my movement during this turn. I just kept these dudes in this spot, you know. And then I didn't really need to move them. With the dudes that were in the corner over here, I ended up just moving the Raveners up, saving. That was just super clutch, dude. I'm like, there's no... Dude, the Raveners are not going to destroy these guys. I'd rather these guys get destroyed than my Raveners and the Screamer Killer too. My attempt here was just to take up as much space as possible, force my opponent to move up the board this way, so it kind of bought me time to keep them from going down towards my home objective, which I think would have lost me the game had he done that. So after my charge, as you guys are going to see over here, the Winged Hive Tyrant made that charge. The Leapers made that charge. I'm pretty sure, you know, you guys can take a look at the Lictors inside there as well as the video cuts out. But just seeing that, you know, there's out of the 10 Deathwing Knights that were over there, you know, having fight first is super clutch in this game. And the Lictors, I mean, this list is called the Lictor Apocalypse. And because, man, these things, eviscerate things, man. Lictors, when they're -1 to hit, is devastating, dude. So this is where he ended up moving up the Deathwing Knights. You can see the one knight over here out to the side doing a stanky leg. We got this. I'm pretty sure he's 1 inch out. He's gonna end up charging, moving his models more this way. Like I said earlier, I probably could have just pushed these models as far into this corner as possible. I don't know if I was thinking about that, but we do have 2 inches of coherency, and I could have done that. I don't know, but just taking up more space probably would have been better for me in that situation. And as you can see, after they landed the charge, dude, there is 1 Hormigaunt left. So yeah, that's why I ran everything away from there. So we have these guys. My sole Hormigaunt that ends up getting battle shocked is left after that melee. And during my opponent's turn, I actually end up picking up these Raveners and taking them off this spot. I put the Screamer Killer on this objective over here just to buy time, really. I still haven't moved these guys. I'm slowly moving up the board with these models over here. I have that objective over there in the corner as well. And my opponent moved his models over here and took out my super amazing, I love this model. Tyranid is such a fun model. I just call this Ball. He just destroyed the ball. That's what he did with all of his swordsmen over there. To me, I think this was a really important play for me during this game. After we ended up taking out the rest of the Deathwing Knights in this spot over here, my opponent's home objective was just clear. Like, there wasn't anything on it. And I think, you know, you play Space Marines and you have intercessors that have sticky objectives, and it makes you feel like you can just leave the objective and it's not gonna matter. And to me, I don't know, I always like to keep something on the home objective because, you know, there are mission cards that exist that score a massive amount of points if you lose that home objective. So I ended up taking my Von Rhin's Leapers from this spot after we destroyed the Deathwing Knights, and I advanced them into this spot. So now my opponent loses his home objective, and I think, like, when you make plays in 40k that force your opponent to make a play, because now I put those models there, and that's like 150 points worth of models, right? Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Leapers are 150 points. And the thing is that is, like, I move those models up, and now it's like, my opponent, you're either gonna take these things out or they're just gonna sit here, you know? You're gonna spend your 300 something points to take out my 150 point model, or I could not make that play and then just let you do whatever I want you to do, you know? Anytime you can take the opportunity to force your opponent to make a play, you're essentially taking their turn, which I think just, it really swings the game in your favor. I also took the Winged Tyrant. There was a group of Marines over here in the corner, and I just flew them over, charged, literally just 1 melee, and eviscerated the entire unit. I dropped the Raveners over here to take this objective as well. I also, you know, have to deal with these Deathwing Knights in this corner over here still, because these dudes are still the bane of my existence in this game, and I gotta get these guys out as quickly as possible. So I moved the Screamer Killer down over here so that I could make that charge over here. And guys, I actually failed that charge, believe it or not. This charge was probably like a 5-inch charge, and I rolled a 4. And, you know, I didn't have CP, and that's the story of my life. So we're just gonna move on. And, but I did move the Tyrannifexes over to this spot so I could then start shooting into that corner with those Deathwing Knights that I need to take out. Like, I need to take them out. I'm also doing my best to block more Knights from dropping into the spot over here. I have totally learned my lesson about 3-inch deep strike models. As you can see in this situation over here, I really took my time. And then, yeah, so now my opponent has his models over there. He moved his, I believe this is Olong Johnson from South Park. In the end, as you can see, we have the Knights. I shot with the Tyrannifexes, did literally nothing. My opponent made every save, all 4-up saves. He just tanked everything. All the Knights are still there, which is amazing for him. And now he's about to charge into my Screamer Killer, which makes me think that he's just gonna get taken out. I have my Screamer Killers. Everything's pretty much still set up the same. Olong Johnson's inside the building over here. Olong Johnson. And he's about to make a charge into that Screamer Killer, trying to take out that Screamer Killer. I do have a stratagem called Death Frenzy. I can pull up the stratagem over here that essentially reads that when a model I control dies, I can roll a dice, and on a 4 up, I could just fight with that model. So I'm banking on, I could rapid regeneration here to give him the feel no pain, but I'm like, look, like I'd rather just try 1 dice, 50% chance. If I get the fight back, I fight back. If I don't, whatever. As I said earlier, Von Ryan's Leapers, it forced my opponent to make this move to the left as opposed to going up towards the center of the board, which is where I wanted my opponent to stay away from. And he made that move to the left over to my Leapers. You know, my Leapers do fight first as well, so I am going to be able to take some damage into these models over here. I don't think I really did any damage, but, you know, it is what it is. So we'll start from this spot over here in this turning point. What you'll notice is that Olong Johnson's no longer here. That Screamer Killer is also no longer here. He destroyed the Screamer Killer, right? And I Death Frenzied. I did, I think, 3 damage to Olong Johnson. And then Olong Johnson moved up over here towards the objective to contest it. But I had my Screamer Killers. My Tyranids is just chilling in this spot. And it just took 1 of them to shoot, dude. And I just blasted Olong Johnson into oblivion. Olong Johnson. Which was kind of the reason why I took these models over here. It was super clutch. And looking at the Deathwing Knights from that corner, oh my god, these dudes are so tough. I ended up running my Lictors into the spot over here. He ended up taking out 1 of the Lictors. I had another one over here on the left. I was left with this, my Hive Tyrant, and then I ended up running out. This Screamer Killer actually survived, believe it or not. I ended up just falling back and just holding this spot over here. Now, as you can see, we're getting to the end of the game over here. Eventually, I was able to finally start taking out these Deathwing Knights. There's only 1 guy left. We end up killing this guy. We have the Winged Hive Tyrant over here. He did kill my Lictor. I think the thing to note over here is that I pulled the Raveners off this objective at the end of my opponent's turn, knowing that I could just fall back with this model over here up to the side. I have the Tyranids over here that could shoot into this model if I really wanted to destroy it. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just get the Winged Hive Tyrant out of the way because I'm going to have a lot of shooting going into this guy. And if they can take out Olong Johnson, they can take out this guy over here. So I ended up moving this back, which was huge because when I drew my cards, I ended up drawing into Capture Enemy Outpost, guys, which scores 8 VP if I control the objective marker in my opponent's deployment zone. And lucky for me, my opponent ended up taking my center objective with the Lictors there. And once again, like I said earlier, guys, like you got to keep something on your back objective, because if you don't, like, you got to build out your list so you can do that. You got to go into the game knowing like I just put my Pyrovore there, like, all right, this is just gonna sit here. It's 35 points, but it exists, you know. But he ended up moving these guys over here, which means that there's nothing on his home objective right now, which scores me a massive 8 points. And all I ended up doing was just taking my Raveners, just picking them up and then putting them on the objective because there's nothing there, which was huge. And as you can see here at the end of the game, this is pretty much how the game ended. We kind of just talked out all the points. I just told my opponent, like, you know, draw cards. Let's see how many points you score. Let's just imagine that you score as many points as you possibly could. And then I went to my turn. I drew my 2 cards and see if it was possible for me to score those points, in which it was. And then we added up our scores, and I ended up winning the game 98-94. Giving me, dude, that extra 4 points, or the 8 points from the Capture Enemy Outpost there, was everything inside the game, because man, that's what gave me the W, drawing the Capture Enemy Outpost. So it was a fantastic game. You know, playing against Dark Angels was definitely a really interesting experience for me, and something that I feel like I learned a lot from this game, especially when I was talking about swapping out some of the models for the Maleceptors. And I just had a fantastic game. You know, we had the Venom throats over here and these dudes over here that I never really talked about. But it's like there wasn't a lot of shooting in the list I was playing against, and I feel like if there was more shooting, the Venom throws probably would have came in more clutch. But I think next time in the future, I could just, a lot of people in my store, they'll bring extra models. And whenever I go play the LICTOR Apocalypse again, I'll keep a couple of Maleceptors, or at least one Maleceptor off to the side that I could bring in, just so I can guarantee that -1 to hit and potentially keep a Screamer Killer alive or some other model alive. Because the Screamer Killer, man, throughout the game, he has that that shouting attack that when it hits, it puts it forces people to take a battle shock test at -1. And both of my Screamer Killers were able to trigger battle shock. And it just, you know, it's obviously very lucky too, but it also is a -1, so it's in your favor. But man, when I really needed those battle shocks, I got those battle shocks, guys, and it was super fun. So if you guys have any questions or any comments or any concerns, anything that I messed up that I could have done better, you let me know. Look, I'm not like amazing at Warhammer or anything. I'm literally just brand new to this game. And dude, I am telling you guys, I've worked at GameStop for almost 11 years of my life. I've played every game in imagination in the world. And I'm telling you that Warhammer 40K is just one of the most exquisite gaming experiences that there possibly can be in the world. But there's a lot to get into with the game, so it's not for everybody. But man, when you're sitting down, or when you're standing, playing, and you got your boy, the ball floating around, dropping winged hive tyrants. Where's my winged hive tyrant? Dropping winged hive tyrants down in spots, dude. I'm telling you, this game is just so much fun. So if anything, just play the game for ball, guys. All right. Always remember, eat healthy. Okay, work out every single day. Most importantly, you guys gotta remember to believe in yourself. All right. Peace out, people. Have fun playing 40K.